how come most startups fail, even when we have more tactics and strategies than ever before. Join the bedside chat of an entrepreneurial couple as they share what it takes to create a business with ease and in flow. Welcome back to another Busy in Flow bedside chat. I'm Jachym, and I'm all by myself. That's why I'm doing the announcement, because Natasha has decided to go on a meditation retreat, and so I am doing this podcast all by myself while she's gone. Now, I don't know how well this is going to go, because I am used to having her by my side and also doing a lot of talking, so maybe this podcast is going to be shorter, maybe not, we'll find out. So I haven't recorded actually a podcast for the last few days while she was gone. Of course, she probably is not going to be happy about that, but don't tell her. And so I kind of want to reflect on what I have learned in the last few days. I've gone to a speaker event called Profit Speaking, and it was quite interesting actually. There are about 300 people, and the idea of going there has come up because some friend of mine recommended it to me. And it's interesting because I was thinking I would love to speak in front of bigger audiences, but I haven't mentioned it to this guy, and suddenly he approached me and he's like, there's this speaker event that's happening, I thought of you, maybe you want to come. And so I just agreed to it because it sounded nice. And I've gotten the info for quite some time. And then he suddenly, he gave it to me. I looked at it, and I transferred the money. But actually, what I looked at very superficially, because it was for a free event, not for the paid event. And so then I suddenly got the information, and I saw who it was. And actually, at first, I was like, I don't actually know if I want to go there. But it's already too late because I already signed up. Luckily, I already signed up because it was really great. Very much enjoyed it. There's a whole bunch of things I didn't enjoy. The workshop is led by, it's not led by, but it's more led in a American kind of style, which is, clapping and music and all of that, which is okay, but it can get a bit too much. And, like, hell yeah, and all this stuff, rah, rah, rah. I might steal some of those elements, but you just can overdo it a bit, in my view. And also, what was a complete no-go for me was that in the event, they were using quite a bit of NLP stuff, and for those people who don't know what NLP is, it's called Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and it is basically about 70 to 80% is taken from hypnosis. So there's certain language patterns. It's basically about being efficient in your communication and influence as well. And so using those kind of patterns can be very useful. Now, one of the concepts of it is, to move your people that you're talking to, the person, into a yes mindset rather than a no or a resistance mindset. And you do that with a yes set. How does this work? Well, basically you tell them things that they are going to agree on, things that are fairly obvious. So, for example, who here would like to become a better speaker? Put up your hand. So you put up your hand, basically you're saying yes to that, you're complying to it, and they're training you to keep putting up your hand and to keep acting on what they're telling you. Now, there is a usefulness in having people put up their hands, especially if it's an event of 300 people. The usefulness of it is that when you're by yourself with another person or a very small group of people, you can see how they're reacting and you can see whether they're agreeing or not agreeing. When you have a larger group in front of you, you can't see that. So putting up hands is very, very useful, and I do use that as well. So that is not something that is bad. However, what I regard as something which was a no-go for me is that they just kind of keep training the audience, to comply to them and to do this kind of yes set, which doesn't really add much value besides just moving people into this kind of yes space. Now, of course, again, there's a case to be made that if people are more in agreement, you can teach them easier and all of that. But for me, there was a feeling underneath of it, which was, I want people to follow me and do what I tell them to do, rather than I want to draw out of people what is already there and is their expertise, and I want them to think for themselves. And which is more kind of what I really more like to do is I want to hear what those people in front of me want, what their views are, what their wisdom is, rather than me as this magnificent, amazing expert. However, what I have taken from the event, which was not obvious to me till I left, and actually was only able to do 2 days instead of the whole 3 days because I had an intensive that came up with a client. What came up was, and that came up once I actually start working with a client, that I saw how those people are very, very confident in shamelessly self-promoting themselves and seeing themselves as absolutely fantastic on top of their game. Now, here's the truth. They are actually really, 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 really good at what they do. They are fantastic at selling from stage. They're very good at profit speaking. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And so what occurred to me is that I myself didn't used to feel comfortable with self-promoting myself, even though I am absolutely on top of my game and there's very, very few people in the world who can do what I can do. And so I decided that actually from now on I am just going to step up more and actually share what I know to be true and be a bit more aggressive in the way I approach people about coaching or inviting them for conversations, because I know that I can help them. It's not about, here's an important distinction. It's not about boosting your ego. It's not me like, oh yeah, I am so great and everyone else is shit and anything like that. That's not what it is about. It is about actually recognizing your own greatness, recognizing it as a fact where you are actually great and magnificent and owning that. It is not about stepping up in the sense of I have to step up because I actually feel really insecure in myself and I have to overboost myself, portray myself as this great, great person, but actually within I feel very, very insecure. That's not what this is about. It's about recognizing your own greatness and standing to it and, letting people know about it. Because if you don't believe in it, how is anyone else going to believe in it? How is anyone else going to see your own greatness? Because here's the thing, not necessarily the best products or the best coaches or whatever are going to be super successful and well known, if that's your goal, being well known. I don't know if that's my goal. But the people who are great at promoting themselves, at selling themselves, are the ones who actually rise to the top. Now, of course, if they can't deliver, if they're shit at what they do, it's going to last for a very short time because they're going to basically have a bad reputation because they can't actually hold up, what people are coming there to get from them. So you do have to have both, at least to a certain degree. But if you don't, and this is why I'm talking about this, because there's so many practitioners, change workers, coaches, solopreneurs out there who are not owning their own greatness, and because of that, they're struggling in their business because they are not promoting themselves and selling to themselves. And here's the thing: you are not only making yourself a disservice because you're struggling, but you're also making the other people a disservice who would actually benefit from working with you. Because if you are not stepping up and selling it to them and letting them know how actually with working with you can literally transform their whole entire life in ways they couldn't even imagine, If you're not letting them know that, how are they going to see it? And so they missed out. They missed out on the opportunity of working with you. So you're doing yourself a disservice, you're doing the other people a disservice, you're doing the whole world a disservice. If you are one of those people who is hiding and playing it small and all of that, stop it. Seriously, stop it. Now, of course, easier said than done, right? No, it is not easier said than done. It takes maybe some courage to actually look, to really take a hard look at what is happening, that you believe that you have to play it small, that you believe you have to water down your own greatness. What is happening? What is the story that your mind is telling you, that you're believing in, that you have to play small? And by playing small, I mean just not acknowledging the fact that you are actually great at what you do. Now, as said, it may take some courage to take a deep look, but it is really worthwhile. It is really worthwhile to actually look, what's going on within me that keeps this pattern in place? Now, for some of you, it might be the fear of being attacked, fear of being seen, fear of judgment, and maybe there's the fear of, well, maybe I'm actually not as great as I think I am. It doesn't really matter what fear it is, because you have to look at it. You have to look it in the eye. You have to recognize it for what it is, because only in the recognition lies the liberation. Now, when I'm talking about recognizing it, I'm not talking about intellectually understanding what's going on. I'm talking about understanding with your heart, seeing with your heart, seeing with your whole being. Because for whatever reason, in our society, it has overtaken the belief that our head and our intellect is the thing that solves our problems. Well, it isn't. Because if it were, you would have no problems whatsoever. It's not an intellectual problem, it's an emotional problem. So you gotta look and feel all the emotions. That's where the magic is at. The real supercomputer is the heart, not the brain. Now, sometimes it may be hard to see what the different stories are. So I can recommend to write them down. Write down what are the things that you're believing in that keep you hiding. And you might be thinking, well, this can't be all it, just recognizing that's not going to do it. Yes, it is. It really is. When you see it for what it is, when you recognize it, when you see what it is doing to you as a human being, to your soul, to your heart, when you see what it does to you, you're going to get out of it. It is not a question of how to. You don't need a technique or a tool trying to reprogram your mind. You got to see it for what it is. You got to have the courage to actually look. So many people are afraid of looking, so they're trying to use some kind of tools, trying to change themselves, and they fail. Now, for those who actually succeeded, good for you, you don't have to listen to this. For those who haven't, well, you haven't because you're trying to layer on top a new way of seeing the world, while actually the old way of seeing the world is still intact. So it's a lie. It's a lie to yourself. You have to start being honest to yourself. Honest of how the world actually looks to you. Honest to actually see how the world looks to you from the place of hiding and what's inspiring you to hide. So you gotta let go of the blanket, the security blanket that you've put up with your mind. Because your mind, you've recruited your mind to try and protect you. But this is not the mind's job, because there's nothing you need to protection from. So the mind is doing an impossible job. The mind is trying to protect you from what? It doesn't even know. You associate it with certain things and you try to stay away from those things, but you can't stay away from those things because they're inside of you. So how's the mind going to do that? It can't do it. It can't do the job. Stop giving your mind a job it can't do, because it's not that your mind is out of control. You are the one who is in control. Now, if you're saying, well, this sounds all nice and good, and I wish I could do it, if only someone would show me how to, or something like that. Notice those things, because they are protection mechanisms. They're protection mechanisms of actually feeling what is real for you in this moment. Because believe me or believe me not, all experiences are natural. All experiences are part of life. They come and they go. They are not here to stay. That's why they're experiences. They're not here to stay. They're not permanent. You may believe that they're permanent, but they're not permanent. They're transient. Experiences, by the very definitions, are transient. They're just like emotions. They're transient. So they come and they go. And so if the world looks like a scary place to you, that is okay. It is completely okay to be wherever you are at in life. This is not a motivational talk trying to tell you this is what you have to do. Well, yes, it is what you have to do if you want to get out of it, but it is not something that you have to do. You can stay where you're at and you can keep hiding. That is fine with me. There's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with any kind of experience you can have. And when you really see and deeply understand that all experiences are okay, they're all part of being human, then your mind starts to become at ease. And you start to feel more peace and more love and more connection. Because hiding in your mind is taking you far, far away, probably the furthest away you can get from what you actually seek. Anyways, I think this is a good place to wrap it up. I did actually quite good. Managed to talk for a while without Natasha around. What did we talk about? Well, I don't really know. We talked about the event that I went to and what I've taken from it, what I liked and what I didn't like. We talked about what I've taken from it and about self-promotion, about standing your ground, about seeing your own greatness, and then talking about the pitfalls that come with not seeing it and how you might be hiding and what's holding you back and all of that. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, like it, share it, give us stars, whatever. But we do appreciate if you share it with people. And I do believe that this episode especially can help quite a few people, at least spark something within them. With that, I wish you a good night.